Welcome to Culture Shark. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and today is the big game day, so we're going to kind of keep it a little short and sweet. But first, Caleb, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just kind of vibing through life. I had a marathon for Book of Boba Fett, so we could talk about it today. Just because uh I usually watch with my parents, but they've been out of town, and so we kind of had like it was almost like watching like a movie finale, which is pretty cool. And then uh over the weekend, I watched a movie that I'd never seen before called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is by Shane Black, who directed Iron Man 3. I'm going to mention Iron Man 3 at least once a podcast. I feel like it's tradition at this point, even though we've only done three. uh, but it was like watching a first draft to The Nice Guys, which is my favorite movie. It was almost like he wrote that and then tweaked it a bunch and set it in the 70s, and that's how we got The Nice Guys. So um yeah, and in terms of anything else, not much, just getting ready for some Super Bowl parties. So how's your week been going?
It's been going pretty good. My wife made me watch a movie called Mayhem. Um,
I don't know that one.
movie about Yeah, it's a little obscure, but it's got a Glenn from Walking Dead. I don't know his real name, but he's the
Stephen Yoon.
yes, and then the girl from I think it's called Ready or Not. The one she looks like. Um, Gosh, I'm so bad with names tonight. The girl, she looks like the girl who plays Harley Quinn.
Okay.
Anyhow, yeah,
I'm trying to think of who you're talking about.
that movie that came out, Ready or Not, where she was like the bride, and turns out that the family tradition is they will hunt her down that night, like in a deadly game of hide and go seek, and you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I love those weird, obscure horror movies. So I don't know. I don't know why I
All
haven't. I
right,
don't know I
so
haven't heard of
so
that.
so Mayhem is basically it's like this cutthroat business world, and you know Stephen, or I was calling Glenn. Glenn's been kind of corrupted by. He was kind of a good person. He got corrupted. Well, now this virus has been released into the building, and all of your innermost inhibitions are gone. So like everybody's like super violent and killing each other and whatever their heart's desires are. And so he's been fired, but he's trapped in the building now, and so now he's fighting his way up to the top floor to get revenge.
Okay.
Uh, Super rated R, but it wasn't bad. It might be worth the watch if that sounds like your type of thing. Like you like movies like The Crazies or anything like that where people just go insane and start killing each other.
Yeah.
Wasn't bad.
Yeah.
As for other things, I like playing Sporkle quizzes in my spare time. I don't know if you know what Sporkle is, but
Uh-uh.
um, it's a website where they just have quizzes based on anything.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
and I noticed that their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles section was terrible. Like the quizzes were like super bad. Like I would try to do one, and it was just like name 100 turtle characters, and there was no clues.
Oh, gotcha.
And you were like, okay, I'll type in Krang, and it's like, nope, Krang's not one of them. And you're like, okay. So I decided to make my own like super hard quiz on there. Right now it's over 130 characters and it's growing. So, and they're like super obscure. So, I tried to take it the other day and I couldn't even get 100 on it. And I'm the one who made the quiz.
Right.
Uh, so I'll let you know when that was done. Maybe we'll have you take it, hear what your results are.
Oh, it's gonna be if it's turtles. I might know more turtles than I think.
I think you might get like 25%, maybe.
That's what I'm thinking. Like is Yojimbo one of them?
Usagi? Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of Usagi, I got my youngest some of those for Christmas, and he's really digging those.
Is that the new ones that been having come out?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got him like the first one, and then a couple of the other ones. They're like in these little mini graphic novels.
Yeah.
He's really liking those. He's a big history nut, so it's a rabbit samurai in feudal Japan, so he's really digging it.
Yeah.
So
Isn't Usagi getting a show too?
yeah, there is a show coming to Netflix. Well, I don't think it's the same character. I think it's one of his descendants or something weird.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be interesting. So um it's weird. Usagi's always been like on the fringe of being popular, like the Ninja Turtles were. He's not an actual Ninja Turtle character. He's from a different creator.
Yeah.
But they cross over all the time. So it's kind of like tradition. If you have a new cartoon, Usagi has
Yeah.
to show up. So
Yeah. I believe so. The first time I saw that character, because I grew up on the 2003 show, doesn't he show up with like the Triceratons or something?
I don't think so. His rhino friend comes with him. That might be why you're getting confused. Jin, his rhino bounty hunter friend.
Maybe. I think it's like some sort of.
There's
It's
a
been
tournament that
the
I think they give.
tournament. Yes.
Yeah,
It's a tournament, and I think Leonardo and Usagi like team up or something like that.
yeah. The Nexus something
The
tournament.
Nexus, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too since I've seen that.
Yeah.
The Battle Nexus.
Battle Nexus, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that quiz is gonna be crazy. So yeah, let's get to some news. Let me switch to banner here. Okay. Not a whole lot to report today. As we mentioned, today is the big game, so we're getting some movie trailers.
Yep.
I think it was Friday, maybe Thursday. The new Jurassic World trailer came out. I think it's called Dominion.
Yes.
I'm not a huge Jurassic Park fan, but this one looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I have a very weird relationship with the Jurassic Park movies. I think the first one is revolutionary, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is actually the second one, just because like it.
You have the weirdest movie taste.
Okay, so the reason it's the second one is specifically because it's like weird and bad and like I don't know, like there's something about a dinosaur in San Francisco, but not exactly because it's just off the docks. It's like Jurassic World is not something that I find sacred, so I think that the worst one being the best one is funny to me, in my opinion. Like in my opinion,
you're talking about Jurassic World 2. I think you're talking about Jurassic Park 2.
no, I'm talking about Jurassic Park 2. No, Jurassic. Okay,
okay. Yes, you are. You're talking about Jurassic Park 2.
And then Jurassic Park 3, I like don't remember. Jurassic World actually is like a really good movie. Now, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom I think it's a horrible movie that's just boring.
I actually have not seen it, so I couldn't tell you.
So there's a podcast that I watch, and they don't even call it Fallen Kingdom. They just call it Jurassic House, because for the majority of the movie, they're just hiding in a house from the dinosaurs.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So another trailer we got was Jordan Peele's new movie Nope.
I'm so excited for this. Have you seen Jordan Peele's other movies?
I haven't seen Get Out. I've seen parts of Get Out.
Okay.
I haven't seen the other one, Us or whatever.
Us, yeah. Yes. Now I like both of them. Get Out is significantly better than Us. Us was kind of weird, and honestly, it's one of the Us is a movie that I called like from the first scene, so like that kind of ruined it for me.
Yeah, I know the twists in it. It sounded like I like to, for those who don't know me, I like to read Wikipedia movie plots of things I probably will never see, just so I'll know what they're about. And just reading the plot on Wikipedia, it sounded like a M. Night Shyamalan type twist, you know.
You know what? It really did. So Get Out was kind of revolutionary and original, and Us really did feel like a good Shyamalan film. It was a good Shyamalan film,
Yeah.
uh, but it definitely had that Shyamalan feel to it. Now, Nope looks really cool because I couldn't tell you if it's a movie about aliens or not, but it looks like it is.
Yeah, that's what makes a good trailer, at least a good teaser trailer, is when you have no clue what's going on, but you really want to know what's going on.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and speaking of Glenn, he is in it. So
Yeah, yeah, he is. He is. It's Kiki Palmer, Stephen Yoon. I never know how to pronounce him, but he's the guy from Get Out. Daniel
yeah,
Kulia, I think is his name.
yeah. And then there's supposed to be another trailer reveal today. I don't think we've seen it yet, or maybe it has dropped. I just haven't watched it. The Lord of the Rings for Amazon trailer is supposed to drop today,
Mm-hmm.
and the chatter online is not very favorable towards it right now.
Yeah, I've seen the stills, and I'll go ahead and let this be known. I own all 3 extended editions of the original trilogy. I've seen none of them. Uh,
Okay.
it's one of those film series. Like I'm sure that like as a young one, I've seen I've at least seen the theatrical version of Fellowship of the Ring. I know that.
Mhm.
Uh, but I was definitely more Star Wars. And then Harry Potter was just one that like, we would go see. But Lord of the Rings was kind of like right before my time of being like a movie fan. And then they started coming out with these extended editions, and it's just so daunting to get it started.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. I mean, the first time you watch it's one thing, but afterwards, it's one of those movies you can just have on the background or you're doing something else.
Yeah. So,
They're all great films. I'm not as big a fan as the Hobbit trilogy. There's just something off about those movies.
I have seen 1.5 Hobbit movies
Yeah,
because
I think I think
I've
it's about what I've seen of them too, about one and a half.
so I've seen all of Unexpected Journey, and then I was watching about half of Desolation of Smaug. I fell asleep, and then I woke up, and then Smaug is flying away, and the credits roll.
There you go.
So I was like, man, did I miss the Desolation?
Yeah. So I'm not hearing great things about Lord of the Rings on Amazon.
Yeah,
It sounds like it's a very expensive show, but they don't really understand the source material. I don't know. We'll see. Make up your own mind. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah,
It could be great, but who
yeah.
knows?
It's at least gonna get me to watch the original trilogy because I was not into Game of Thrones that much because I didn't have HBO whenever it was on, and by the time I started watching it, it just wasn't for me, and everyone had already watched all of it. So I definitely want to watch it, and I want to be a part of the culture this time, I guess. So I'll
So if you're gonna
watch
get
it.
into Game of Thrones, I never finished the series either. I watched like season one and then random episodes here and there. The books are, of course, way better. Um, but the problem with Game of Thrones is there's like a gazillion characters.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would read or listen to a chapter, then I would go online and read someone's like Cliff Notes summary of what just happened, and it helped me keep track of what is going on.
Right.
So that's what I recommend. Game of Thrones, another series, not for kids, but it's got some pretty cool twists in it. Um, that's all I'll say. So, all right, so let's get down to the main topic tonight. Main topic is Book of Boba Fett. I know everybody has very different opinions about this. Some people love the series. Some people are not so fond of the series. Some people were upset that Boba Fett wasn't in a couple episodes or barely in them. So, what are your thoughts, Caleb?
I am definitely of two minds about this show. Boba Fett actually being one of my favorite Star Wars characters of all time. Uh, Of course, specifically the Legends version, because we don't have much of Boba Fett in canon. But it's definitely the first half and the second half feel so disconnected, and I really can't put my finger on why specifically. Um, because those first, I would say, 3 episodes, where he is, and I assume we're gonna spoil
Oh,
alert.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, if you have not watched Book of Boba Fett, we are going to get into all of it. So spoilers from here on out.
Yeah. Those first 3 episodes with the Tusken Raiders, while on their own, I like. Um, I really don't get the context and why they're there with the last 4 episodes. So like I would say that I really started to like the show by episode 4. Those first 3 episodes are entertaining as a Star Wars fan, but I'm sure anybody who likes has seen the movies and likes Mandalorian and not much else. Um, those first 3 episodes are probably really rough to get through because I personally, watching it, was excited to see Tusken Raider culture, which we haven't really seen a whole lot of on screen, which is really cool. But I am talking as a geek right now, who is excited for Tusken Raider culture. Um, but yeah, I don't think it really started to get good until until probably when Fennec showed up in the flashbacks, which I believe was episode 4.
Yeah, for me, I kind of ranked the episodes this way. Episode 1 was kind of a C. Episode 2
Okay.
was a B. Episode 3 was a C. Episode 4 was a B. And then it like the quality shot up. So like episode 5 was it was an A. Episode 6 was an A plus, and then episode 7 was kind of like about a B.
Yeah.
I thought that the flashback parts were more interesting than the modern day Tatooine stuff.
Yes, yes. So I definitely agree with that. Like in the context of those episodes, the flashbacks were, it felt like the story was in the flashbacks rather than the the flashback. I compared it this. How familiar are you with Arrow?
I watched the first few seasons. I think probably
Okay.
like first 3 seasons.
Okay. Yeah, that's about as far as I got to. Like I love the first 2, and then they ruined uh
Yeah.
Ra's al Ghul. um, so I felt like this was kind of the opposite of Arrow, where if you remember, the flashbacks could stand on their own, but definitely gave context to what was happening in like the present, which I thought was cool. The flashbacks and the present day stuff felt so disconnected.
Yeah, and I was thinking that they did the show completely wrong. I know it was kind of rushed and chaos behind the scenes. I mean, allegedly. Um, I would have not killed off Bib Fortuna as quick as they did.
You mean like
And
before the show started?
before the show started, yeah, I would just had Boba Fett saying, "We're going back to Tatooine. I'm getting revenge on Jabba's palace," or just something. I have
Mhm.
unfinished business on Tatooine, and that you just leave that as your cliffhanger. You don't need him shooting Bib Fortuna, and then do the show in order. Don't do flashbacks. Just do
Yeah.
how he survived and how he got to where he is to with Finnick, and then you just have him. Maybe he finds out that Bib Fortuna did something to his jetpack, and that's why he fell in the Sarlacc pit. Something happened where he got betrayed at Jabba's palace, and so this turns into like a revenge of him trying to raid this insane palace with it's heavily armored, and it's just like kind of like a desperado type movie, which
Yeah.
something like that. That's what I would have done. Um, but instead, I think taking out Bib Fortuna so quickly, you lost some opportunity there. I don't think the Pikes were that interesting. I'm not super familiar with them. I know they
The
were, I guess, on
Pikes,
Clone Wars.
yeah, the Pikes are never interesting. They've never been like a major player. They've always been kind of like. So, do you remember the episode where Boba gathers everybody to you don't have to join me, but just don't betray me?
So here's the thing of Clone Wars. I
No,
somehow
no,
missed. Oh, you talking
no.
about? Are you talking about on a Book of Boba Fett?
Yes, yes, yeah,
Oh, so when he gathered around all the kind of like the bosses of the different
yeah.
territories, that part.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
The Pikes were always kind of like that, where they were just they would always be in the room and they might say a thing or two. Um, but I think they only had maybe like one or two episodes where they were the main villains. And even then, they weren't even the main part of the episode.
yeah. I feel like they needed like a big bad boss. I mean, Cad Bane kind of served that role, but I feel like there needed to be like one Pike that was leader that you could recognize. Say, oh, okay, that's the
Yeah.
the Darth Vader of the group.
Yeah.
The.
What I would have liked, honestly, because what they've been doing is taking and this is what honestly they should have been doing from the very beginning, but they're taking characters from legends and from the books and from the video games and kind of repurposing them. So like, you take Thrawn, who is a major player post Return of the Jedi before Disney, and then what they did was they took Thrawn and they made him a major player pre A New Hope, and then
Mhm.
now it looks like they're going to be bringing him back. So what I think would have been cool, because really it doesn't matter who your crime syndicate is, you just need a crime syndicate in the
Mhm.
context of the show. I would have made it the Black Sun,
Right.
and then your villain would be Lord Shizor from Shadows of the Empire.
And
Uh,
I'm hearing rumblings that they might be using him in the near future.
oh,
Um,
they should. Maybe
yeah.
tone down his like. So Steve Perry, who wrote Shadows of the Empire, he's got a very uncomfortable lexicon. We'll say he says the word moist a lot, and it, it's his writing is really weird and very, it's almost creepy. Tone that part down, make him like a cool
Yeah.
mob boss. You don't
If
have to make him weird.
it's been a long time since I've read that, but I remember it being a lot about pheromones and trying
Yeah,
to seduce Leia and all this stuff. And I was kind of like,
yes,
okay, this is weird.
yeah. So don't do that, but uh no, you definitely needed like a big bad. Now what I would have really liked, um and we can get to Cad Bane in depth here in a second, because oh my gosh, I love Cad Bane. He's one of my favorite. He's probably my second or third favorite Star Wars character of all time. So when he showed up, I freaked out. Um, but I knew that if there was a Boba Fett show, Cad Bane's got to be in it. Like that you just have to do that. But what I would have done, I think he should have been in the show. He should should have had a better presence in the show, other than like the end of chapter 6 and then kind of the main bad of chapter 7. Um, just to give people who haven't seen the Clone Wars and don't know the behind the scenes stuff about Cad Bane and Boba some context, because they hate each other. Like they genuinely hate each other. And then I kept having to explain to my parents, who I was watching it with, um, how Cad Bane is probably one of the most evil people in Star Wars, just in general. And so this one it it suffered more than Mandalorian season 2 with like lack of context for the people who don't know Star Wars that well.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we can get to me gushing about Cad Bane here in a second. But oh, sorry.
No, I guess you're already gushing there. Where was the
Yeah,
horns?
yeah. No, yeah. We'll get there in a second. But yeah, it was. Let me
All
just
right.
explain that with this show, I got exactly what I expected. I was not disappointed with it. Uh, Whenever they said that Boba was going to be trying to, take over Jabba's uh, trade, this is what I thought it would be. So I wasn't disappointed at all, but it's definitely like on the whole, I'd give this probably a 7.5.
That seems fair.
Yeah.
And for people who think I'm hating on the show, I really liked the show. I just thought the execution was off. I thought it could have been better.
Yes, absolutely. Um,
So let's talk about Luke. I thought that the Luke Grogu moments were just amazing.
yes.
I could watch, a couple movies of just them hanging out training. About them villains. I just want to see more of that.
Oh yeah.
And when he starts talking about Yoda, the music kicks in, and and then Grogu being on his backpack, it was just. I didn't know I needed that so much. You're like, oh, I didn't know I wanted that, but this is great.
Yeah.
Uh,
I, I
the
I do wonder. Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead. I've been talking a lot. You go ahead.
the deep fake technology was a lot better. They
Yes.
hired the guy from YouTube. Um, there's still a couple little moments, but for the most part, I was sold.
Yep.
Um,
I agree
and
with you. 5 years, we'll be getting something where Luke's the star.
that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think that we don't know how Mandalorian's going to end. I think we've probably got about 2, maybe 3 seasons more. So I don't know if Mando, if he dies at the end or what happens, but I do think that Grogu will end back up with Luke. This was kind of his Empire Strikes Back moment, where Grogu had to decide: do you go help your friends or do you finish your training? And he chose go help your friends. And so there's going to be consequences to that decision down the road,
Mm-hmm.
and where he has to return to Luke. So that's exciting. But yeah, I do think that they're seeing how far they can push the technology. And I really do think we'll be getting some type of Luke Jedi Temple show in probably 3 years or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was whenever they first revealed him in the season finale of season 2 of Mandalorian, I was always kind of against it. I was definitely more in the camp of just recast. It's just a lot easier. But I definitely think that the technology is getting to the point um, where we'll be able to get a good Luke led show. And honestly, like Mark Hamill, he's older, but he's got the same voice, and I mean, like he sounds like he did back in Return of the Jedi.
So I don't know if that was him per se. I think I heard someone say that they've got the technology now where they could just take his voice and how he sounded in Return of the Jedi and change it to make him sound younger. So I don't know if that's true. I have no idea. Because he sounded just like he did in Return of the Jedi, and I was
Yeah.
like, I was kind of like, how's he pulling that off? But yeah, one of the things I've been saying for years is with movies is you know, we don't have big movie stars like we used to, like the 50s and 60s and 70s. And I think we're going to get to a point where the technology is going to get so good that you'll start having new movies with Jimmy Stewart or Clint Eastwood or whatever. They're just going to start digitizing these people, and then we won't have new movie stars. We'll just have the old movie stars.
Yeah.
I feel like that's coming. Like, next 10 years, you'll see that happen. So I don't know.
But in the context here, I mean, it works. It works really well.
The big test is when they eventually try Leia again. We'll see.
Yeah, that that one. Well, it was Rogue One, right?
Yeah, and the Rogue One.
Yeah, I think that might have been like the first time they tried it, and it wasn't great. I think so far the best that it's ever looked, and I'm not gonna count Sam Jackson in Captain Marvel because I mean he's Sam Jackson. He looks pretty young right now anyway. But probably Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War. I think that's the best it's ever looked.
I was gonna say either that or Kurt Russell in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't perfect, but man, he looked like he did, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So let's see what else. We had Ahsoka show up again. I'm hearing a lot of interesting rumblings about Ahsoka. I'm starting to get excited about her series and what it might mean, and maybe we'll talk about it off the air. But it has a lot to do with that. What's it called? The World Between Worlds or World? What?
The World Between Worlds. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll talk to you off the air about that. It sounds like her series could be really, really interesting.
Yeah. I've been waiting for them to bring in the World Between Worlds into I guess a more prominent light, because I mean Rebels is still essentially a cartoon. It's a kids show, but it's a really interesting thing. And honestly, I thought that I don't even know why I thought this. It was ridiculous of me to think this. I thought it was going to be the main thing in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I think the people who wrote Rise of Skywalker may have not even been aware of it.
I was not aware that Rise of Skywalker had writers. That's mean. That's mean. I'm sorry.
I think it's well justified.
Somehow Palpatine's return
in Fortnite.
Yeah. Yeah.
That still gets me. For those who don't know, the opening crawl of Rise of Skywalker says somehow Palpatine has returned, and the week before, and the scroll mentions that there was an announcement that he's returned. And
yeah, like he used the Force to send a message in like everyone's.
And so
minds.
the week before in Fortnite, the message was received.
Yeah,
they announced it
Fortnite.
Yeah, it's it was such a jump the shark moment.
It was, oh man, that might have been like, out of anything that Disney has done with Star Wars, specifically the sequel trilogy, I think that was the worst thing.
It's pretty awful. And I don't know if you've seen the memes of Seinfeld and Kramer, and you see the red light coming from
right
Kramer's room, and he's like, "What's going on in there?" And he's like, "Somehow Palpatine has returned."
That's good. I love those. That's the Kenny Rogers episode. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So of the, and this is my way to segue into Cad Bane, but of the 7 episodes, which one would you say is your favorite?
It has to be the Luke Skywalker episode. The one before it with Mandalorian, with Mando getting the new ship was cool, but I just love Luke Skywalker so much.
Oh,
he is like one of my absolute favorite characters.
Yeah. Which I believe that was chapter 6, and
yeah.
I definitely agree. And it's, for me, the Luke and Grogu stuff, that was like the cherry on top of everything else. That, like I said, the second half of the show, actually, we have a plot, and there's a show happening, um, and it's when it really starts to get good. Of course, I love the Luke stuff. I'm not familiar with that planet. I meant to look it up, but I am not familiar with the planet. But another thing that I enjoyed about that episode was one of my uh, more recent favorite characters who I really enjoy. Cobb Vanth is back.
Yes.
Uh, and I love Timothy Oliphant. I love Justified and everything he's in. So it's always good to see him back. Um,
And you did see there was an end credit sequence, right?
I did,
Okay.
yeah.
So I
Uh,
assume he's coming back as a cyborg.
right.
So they're going to replace his arm with a cyborg arm.
Yeah,
So
as one of the mods. We can get to that because I'm wondering if like he's I don't think he's gonna get a show because I don't think that I love Timothy Oliphant, but I don't think that he's one who would star in his own Star Wars show. I don't know if he's that kind of actor. um but no, of course my favorite scene, and it's my favorite scene in the whole show, is whenever whenever Mando leaves and um then and he says that he's gonna like try to galvanize people to join their cause, and then there in the distance, and it's really cool. It is so Sergio Leone. I love it.
right,
And it's the title of the episode, From the Desert Comes a Stranger, and it is Cad Bane, and like just the whole conversation. It was very Tarantino-esque, which is already kind of like Sergio Leone. Um, but no, he's one of my favorite characters from Clone Wars and Bad Batch. Um, and it was just great to see him in live action, which by the way, I think that of the characters that they brought from animation into live action, this is the this is the best one, like in terms of how the character looks. um I know people have been trying to fix his face, make him a little darker blue and lower his mouth, but honestly, like he's like older now, he's an old
right.
man, so like it makes sense. I think he looks better than Ahsoka, honestly. Like, and I think Ahsoka looked great.
Yeah, yeah. I thought Cad was great. So spoilery question: do you think he's dead?
Yes.
I did not think he was. I don't know what that beeping noise was. I don't know if you caught there was some red light beeping on him. I didn't know if he was calling for help. Uh, I just felt like he. I mean, it's a good ending if that is how the story ends between the two.
Yeah. And honestly, that's why I think he's dead, is just because like who when Cad Bane dies, it's got to be Boba that does it.
Yeah,
It's kind of like it doesn't matter if you bring back Darth Maul, you got to get Maul on Tatooine somehow, so that way Obi-Wan can be the one to kill him. It's
yeah,
the same thing. And so not only do I think it's that's why, but I also think it's a pretty fitting death as well. Um,
yeah.
I do wish that once again that he was in. Uh, I do wish that he was in more of the show, just so that way, within the context of the show, his death and Boba doing it has a bit more impact.
Right.
Like honestly, what I would have done is I would have had him show up. Probably, I probably would have had him show up in like episode 3 or 4, and have him be the one to kill the Tusken Raiders. Like the Pikes pay him to go kill them.
That makes sense. Yeah, throwing him in a flashback somewhere. There's no reason. I mean, I know you're trying to do the big surprise reveal. That was really
Mhm.
cool, but
Yeah, it was. It
y-
was.
yeah, but I see what you're saying.
Mhm.
All right. So, do you think Book of Boba Fett's getting a season two?
No, no. Um, what I've told people is this very much reminds me of a Gaiden or a side story.
Yeah.
So it's something that gets us from Mandalorian season 2 into season 3. We've dealt specifically with Din Djarin. We've dealt with a lot of stuff that now we don't have to deal with in season 3.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. They kind of move some of the pieces around. Which sucks if people skip Book of Boba Fett. Bando's gonna start being like, what's going on?
yeah,
uh,
I think honestly at this point it's uh, I don't know in the age of Marvel, if you're watching something and you skip over, like you know what you're getting into.
yeah. I I don't know. I've got mixed feelings on if they'll get a second season. I think it may just be something that every once in a while Mando will go visit Tatooine to see his friends, and you'll get kind of caught up on what Boba Fett's up to, but that'll be it.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. Because at the end of the show, he Boba says to Fennec that they're not fit for this or something like that.
Yeah, maybe he implied that maybe somebody else should take over.
Yeah,
Like he didn't really want the job. Um,
I think he'll
I
give it to Cobb.
I mean that would be interesting.
It's better
Um,
than the mods.
if they do a season two, there's a couple places they could go with it. Um, one of the things I mentioned to some of my friends the other day was, do you get the feeling that Fennec's going to eventually betray him?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I am surprised that it didn't happen in the show.
Yeah.
Because there's this it, obviously like Fennec has a life debt to Boba for saving her life, but
Hmm.
they just don't seem like they're on the same page like ever.
Well, it seemed like when she killed everybody at the end, it felt well. A, I wish Boba Fett had done it, but B, it seemed like that would have been a great time for her to take over, where
Yeah,
she does like this moment where she just takes out all the competition and oh now I'm going to betray Boba Fett. I think that may have been a better ending.
yeah,
um, but yeah, so season two ideas. I would like to see the Hut cousins come back.
yeah.
Um,
That was kind of like an angel's kiss, just here and went.
yeah, I would like to see them though. I'd like them to hire all the Empire Strikes Back bounty hunters to come take out
Oh
Boba,
man, I would love
and,
them to bring in Bosk.
and just have them. And just at first, you don't even know what's going on. It's just like all of a sudden, they're all just showing up in town, and you're just kind of like, "What is going on?" And then all heck breaks loose. you
Yeah,
know. So that's one idea. The other idea is, and I've seen this around a little bit online, is
yep.
what if Mace Windu is still alive and will Boba Fett finally get revenge on him?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think the question is whether or not Sam Jackson would come back for it because I think he would. Um,
I
the
think
the
the biggest problem is you have to answer where has Mace Windu been all these years?
where has he been? I mean, like you could probably say he's been in some sort of like self-imposed exile, or honestly, I would picture him as kind of like the um like the Jedi's answer to Darth Maul, where Savage finds Darth Maul like absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
And like of any Jedi who would have survived and gone crazy, I mean, it would be Mace Windu.
I think one of the ideas I had is what if someone found Mace Windu's body and they cloned him and kind of gave him some of the memories, and so he's kind of like deranged, and he thinks he's the real Mace Windu, but he's not.
Yeah.
And I could see them doing something like that. So
Well, and that would work because I mean, especially from Mandalorian, in some way. with whatever they're doing, because I do believe that they probably don't know exactly where they're going, just like Feige didn't know exactly where they were going. But I do think they're building up to something. Uh,
Yes.
like bringing up Thrawn and uh, Dark Troopers and uh, a lot of stuff on Mandalore. They're definitely building towards something, and they have referenced cloning a lot.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's got to be something with clones, and uh, I hope we get a payoff as to why specifically the Empire wanted to clone Grogu over everybody else. Uh, so
Well, I mean, if Grogu is like Yoda's son or something, then he has that lineage, that power. You know, I hate to say midi-chlorian count, but you know, he would be exceptionally powerful.
yeah.
So, um, all right, well, good stuff. Book of Boba Fett, mixed bag, but overall we liked it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's one of those that like once it's going, but it takes way too long to get going.
yeah. So we're both really looking forward to Obi-Wan.
Yes,
That's coming out in May.
and then
Uh,
I'm looking forward to Andor. I know no one else in the world is, but
yeah, I'm not a. I think Rogue One is a third of a good movie.
well,
The first,
and that's why because the person who wrote The Good Third, Tony Gilroy, is the
yeah,
showrunner for Andor. Like I'm not this big Cassian Andor fan. It's specifically because um the Tony Gilroy who wrote the Bourne trilogy is the showrunner. That's
yeah.
all it comes down to.
Oh, let me ask you this: had you heard any of the rumors that Han Solo was supposed to appear on of Boba Fett?
I had heard the rumors. I did not believe them for a second.
Yeah, that rumor was everywhere. And so I kind of thought, well, yeah, I mean, they were filming Indiana Jones. They could have just took it outside. Hey, can you film this real quick? And to me, I was like, if they do it, it would be him bringing Grogu to Tatooine. You know, it'd be look like saying, hey, can you swing? You know, can you drop him off? And but you know, once that actually lands, you're like, oh yeah, Han Solo's not going to be here.
And how would you do it? Because you'd have to, first of all, you would have to digitally de-age Harrison Ford,
Yeah,
who he looks good for his age, but like he's definitely not.
it would have to be almost like you film somebody else and then just slap his face over him, which I've heard they might be doing for the Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah,
um, yeah, and it would have totally derailed the episode. Like there would have been no room for anything else because that once that happens, all you're caring about is okay. Let's see the rematch between Han Solo and Boba Fett. You know, so
oh, and
yeah,
I've also got to bring this up. Chekhov's Rancor was awesome.
yeah, I loved it. I loved the little King Kong references with it. You know,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
going berserk. And
And then I like it whenever Star Wars is consistent with its force powers, and so whenever Grogu walks up to it, I'm looking over my brother. I'm like, "Oh, he's gonna use the beast control thing," and that's what he
yeah,
does. And then it's adorable. He cuddles up to the Rancor, and it's awesome.
I thought for a moment when they were fighting I don't know if it was a droidica droid or whatever it
Yeah,
was.
they're like super droidicas or something.
Yeah, I thought that Grogu was going to grab the dark saber and go to town. So,
Oh man,
uh,
when he got him to start jumping, I'm like, "Oh, Attack of the Clones! It's awesome."
I mean, Grogu rejected Yoda's lightsaber, so he's got to wield the dark saber at some point. So I feel like that's coming. So,
Yeah.
all right, I think that's enough for Boba. So let's move on to our next segment. Last week I gave Caleb some homework and our
Yes.
he made me do it segment, and Caleb had to watch Highlander.
Yes. Yes, I did.
So I'm very curious to know because you knew nothing going in other than
I,
the
kn-
phrase
I
"there could be
yeah.
only one."
Yeah, I knew absolutely nothing about this.
So Caleb,
Um,
what did you think of Highlander?
so I feel like I've seen this movie before, just because there are so many references in later things to this film
Right.
that I just didn't get.
Yeah.
Um, so to start it off at the beginning, um, there and honestly, a lot of the a lot of the references I didn't get were from Community.
Right.
Uh, I'm sure. Oh man, the creator of Community,
Dan Harmon.
Dan Harmon.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is one of his favorite films of all time, just based on how much they're talking about the prize, and the prize is from, in the paintball episode, they're so excited about the prize, and what's the prize. But the thing that I found really funny is there's an episode of Community in season 6 where they play paintball, and the scene in the parking garage is ripped
Oh yeah.
frame for frame from this movie, and I had no idea.
Yeah. If you watch it side by side, it's pretty incredible.
Now, overall, just to give my thoughts, this is one of those movies. It was pretty cool. It definitely. I am not an '80s fan. There's something about like '80s aesthetic that is
Well,
not
you
pleasing.
didn't live through it, so
Right. No, no, no. I get it. I get it. Hon, I love the 2000s, and I know people hate 2000s.
yeah.
So, so, but you know what this really reminded me of, and I couldn't stop thinking of it. This had like a very, and it's probably just because Christopher Lambert's in it. It was very much Mortal Kombat meets um the original Terminator to me. That's kind of the vibe I got from the film.
Yeah.
Um, like all the stuff with Clancy Brown as he's walking around, I'm just like, this is like Arnie walking around killing all the different Sarah Connors.
Yeah, it feels like they've also, like, maybe the one borrowed a lot from this movie.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
idea of there only being one Jet Li.
Mhm.
So what do you think of Clancy Brown? That's my favorite part.
Oh my god. I've never seen Clancy Brown like that. Usually I've seen Clancy Brown as either Mr. Krabs or uh Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
And then, in everything else, he's just kind of like this military general who gets in the way of the heroes or something.
Right.
That's usually who he plays. He definitely played like, I don't even know what he was on when he was playing this character.
It's so over the
I
top,
I
and
loved it.
when he's running over everybody in the car, it's just insanity.
Man, it's awesome. And Sean Connery is amazing in this movie. Honestly, this is one of those films, because I feel like everyone else is kind of like on the same level acting wise, and then Sean Connery is like just doing his absolute best, like he's bringing his A game. uh like he brings what he brings to James Bond, to The Rock, to The Hunt for Red October, to this. Like, no matter what movie it is, he would always bring his A game. And it doesn't matter if he's dressed up as Lord Farquaad from Shrek. But
The
no,
Spanish Peacock. Yeah.
so it, now this does bring in a very unfortunate thing for me, because the thing that I actually liked the most about the film was the lore, and like kind of the world that they had built.
hmm
And I also feel like I can't experience anything else because of how bad it is.
Well, like I told you last week, the Highlander TV series,
Mhm.
they they introduced Connor's cousin Duncan,
Okay.
and he's also an immortal, and they kind of say, "Oh yeah, the Kurgan thing happened, but and we're thankful that Connor killed him, but this is a world where that wasn't the final battle. There's still hundreds of immortals, and we're just going to continue the story.
That was what I was wondering at the end. Is like, how could they know that that was it? Like how could they know that that was the last fight? Um,
Well, the quickening he has at the end is like it's pretty wild. Like this is
yeah,
a major one.
yeah. The
So
quickening super cool. Like I just the idea of it and the effects.
mhm.
Even for the 80s, like it's super cool. Um, I will say that I I have seen this name spelled out many times, and I've always pronounced it as McLeod. It wasn't until this movie that I'm like, oh, it's just McLeod.
Mhm.
Okay. But that's the Scottish dialect for you. Um,
So let me briefly just recap what some of the sequels are.
okay. Well, and here's the thing. I looked this up because I'm like, well, maybe I'll at least watch the second one because typically in a film where it's great and then like it has sequels, at least the second one is passable. But there are like four second ones because they keep just making sequels to the original.
Yeah, and so the second one just goes like totally off the rails and says, "Oh, they were aliens," and you're like, "What?" Which makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
And basically, McLeod or Connor uses the gift to try to save mankind by building a shield around the Earth to protect the ozone layer, and it makes everything worse. And then part of him having the gift is he now ages and can have children, so he's like an old man. And then when the other immortal aliens show up, he has a quickening and turns back young. And then somehow Sean Connery magically shows up. I don't know. It's a weird movie. Um, yeah, Sean Connery shows back up and whatever. Then Highlander 3 says, "Oh no, Highlander 2 didn't happen. Uh, there happened to be some immortals that were trapped in ice, and now they've thawed, and now you got to go fight them. They're actually the last one, not Kurgan. Ignore that." And that one's okay. Then they did a cartoon series that was based on the alien world with all the aliens, and I think it was Connor's nephew, Quentin McLeod, or something. It's bizarre. It's a bizarre cartoon. I'm like, who greenlit this? Who thought this was a good idea? And then all the other sequels are like spin-offs of the TV show, and they're pretty bad. So if you're gonna watch anything, watch the TV series. It's truly not bad, and it introduces, like, if you like the lore, it introduces all kinds of cool stuff like the Watchers who don't interfere. They're just there to keep track of the immortals. There's a dark quickening that turns you evil. Just all kinds of cool stuff. So if you're gonna watch something, check that out.
Okay.
Did you enjoy the Queen soundtrack?
I did. I did a lot actually. Um, I definitely wanted to talk about that because there were some that I had actually never heard before, like the one Who Wants to Live Forever, I think is what it was called.
That's one of my favorite songs.
I had never heard that one. I had no
I,
idea that
I've I've told my wife that if you want to know what play at my funeral, you can play that one.
I had no idea that Kind of Magic was from this movie.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no, I very much enjoyed. I liked it more than the Flash Gordon soundtrack, honestly. But it's because this was definitely more standalone songs too than just songs about Flash Gordon.
Right. Um, so for years they have not known what to do with this property. Um, I had an
Honest, I think that
I had
this
an
is something
idea
they can
that
reboot.
so my idea, if they were going to continue it, was have Connor realize, oh, a new game is starting. There's new immortals popping up. I have to train them the rules. I think
Okay.
that's the way you could do it.
Yeah.
But they're talking about doing a full reboot, and the rumor is that Henry Cavill would play Connor McLeod.
I would be down for that because I'm actually a big fan of his Geralt of Rivia in the Witcher show. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of this franchise. My friend was like, "You have to watch this," and at first I was making fun of it, and then I kind of got into it and kind of fell in love with the series.
Yeah.
It's very 80s. Some of it has not aged well at all, but you might want to check out the director's cut of this movie. There's this, the older lady that's like his assistant
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he rescues her from a concentration camp as a little girl and kind of raises her.
I think I did see that. Like
Okay, so maybe you saw the
yeah,
director's cut
yeah,
version
and then
then.
he shot the Nazi.
Yeah, I don't think that's in the original movie. Yeah,
Okay.
so
Well, yeah. Well, then that's
okay,
that's the version I saw.
okay, cool. Um, but yeah, if you like Clancy Brown, you have to check out this movie. Uh, Christopher Lambert's great in it. It's just a
I-
lot of fun.
So, uh, so the funny thing is, as I'm watching it, I'm like, I can sort of see it. Because I've only seen Christopher Lambert as Raiden,
Raiden.
and
Yeah.
so and I believe that came out after this, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and so I'm watching. I'm like, yeah, sure, I get. And then he does his like laugh, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's because that's the Raiden laugh. I've always done that. I've called it the Raiden laugh, but I guess it's the Christopher Lambert laugh.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Good stuff. So our first He Made Me Do It was, I would say, a success. You
Yeah, I liked
found
it.
something new, a new franchise to check out. Um, all right. So now it's your turn to give me something to watch
Uh,
or read.
yes, actually, I'm gonna get you something to read. In preparation for the Batman, which is releasing here soon, um, I want to get you to read my favorite Batman origin, which is Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Batman Zero Year, which is in two trades. Uh, I'm trying to think what they're called. They're called a Secret City and Dark City. So I think it's like an 11 or 12 issue series, and
Okay.
it's super cool. And at this point, I think canonically it's the new origin, kind of like what I like after Crisis on Infinite Earths. Year one was the new Batman origin, and so then once Flashpoint and New 52 happened, Zero Year would be the new origin, and it's cool because it's one of those that it's kind of a jam packed story arc, but it juggles it all very well. It's got the Red Hood gang, and it's got the Riddler and Doctor Death, um, and it's all super cool, and they do something really interesting with Gordon. Uh, but I'll let you read that.
Okay.
So it's a
Yeah, I'm a huge Batman fan. I just don't read his comic books that often. I've read like Year One and Dark Knight Returns, of course, and I've read some of Grant Morrison stuff. So I don't think I've checked out any of Scott Snyder stuff. So I'll be interested to see
yeah.
what it's like.
In my opinion, I think of Scott Snyder stuff, people will say Black Mirror, and objectively, I think I agree. But I think Zero Year is my favorite thing that he's done. Um,
Okay.
what it really reminds me of is it's kind of like how whenever Bendis got on Ultimate Spider-Man, and they're like, "Wait, you're gonna do the Spider-Man origin for 6 issues?" That was like that was like 14 pages, and then he expanded it and made it work really well. And so it's kind of like you're gonna do the Batman origin, but it was 4 issues. You're gonna do 11, but he expands it and does it really well. It really reminds me of Ultimate Spider-Man. honestly.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, I can swing by the library tomorrow and pick them up. Um, so yeah, that'll be fun. So I'll give my report next week. And I'm not quite sure what we're gonna do next week, but we're gonna sit down, hash it out, and we've got a list of shows that we're gonna pick from. So I'm sure it'll be a good one. So check us out next week, next Sunday at 6 o'clock Eastern, right here on YouTube. Anything else you need to say, Caleb?
Nope. I think we're good.
All right. Moon Knight's coming out in April, then Obi-Wan, and so a lot of exciting things are coming up that we could chat about. But until then, I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We'll talk to you next week. Bye.
See ya.